So we have verses 18 and 19 lined up for today. I will start with the 18th verse. Gatir bharta prabhu sakshi nivasa sharanam suhrata prabhava pralaya sthanam nidhanam bijam vayayam. So this verse continues from the previous verse, which was the 17th verse, which we just recapped, which talked that I'm the father, the mother, the grandfather, the dhata. So those adjectives, Krishna is trying to enumerate how Brahman expresses himself so that we can, by seeing any of these, we can always think of that Brahman. So the verse, it translates to, I am the goal. So it starts this, the goal, supporter, Lord, witness, abode, shelter, friend, origin, dissolution, foundation, treasure house, the imperishable seed. So let's take this up word by word. Gati. Gati is goal. Bharta is the supporter. The word that we had used in the previous verse was dhata. Here we are using the word bharta, which means the supporter, almost a synonym. Prabhu is the Lord. Sakshi is witness. Nivas is home or abode. Sharanam, shelter, under whose you surrender, you go to that, you take refuge under that person. Suhrita. Hrita means is heart. Su means good. So someone who has good wishes towards you or your friend. Prabhava is origin. Pralay is dissolution. Sthanam is in what you are established. Sthit. So the foundation or the substratum. Nidhanam is the treasure house or the repository. Bijam is seed. Avyayam is, this word has been occurring again and again in over across the chapters, means imperishable. So the adjectives continue, and the from the previous verse, and Krishna is listing the Brahman's expressions with the Brahman is the goal, supporter, Lord, witness, abode, shelter, friend, origin, dissolution, foundation, treasure house, the imperishable seed. So let's chant it together. Gatir bharta prabhu sakshi nivasa sharanam suryata prabhava pralaya sthanam nidhanam bijam avyayam. So one will take some time to explain these adjectives now, because it is through these that we will start, we should be able to relate to that Brahman. So Gati, that is the first adjective, which means the ultimate goal for mankind. So this is the ultimate knowledge and experience where the human existence actually culminates. Beyond this, there's nothing for us to do. So Krishna says that Brahman is the highest goal that we can set for ourselves. The next word is Bharta, the supporter. So in the Grihast context, or in the family context, it means the one who supports the family. As God is the creator for the entire creation, so he supports the entire beings, all set of beings he supports. So that is one. Secondly, all our experiences are actually taking place in that Brahman. So when I say that I am talking, or I'm out shopping, I am breathing, I am hearing, I am thinking, I'm eating, I can feel, I speak, I hear, I am awake, I am dreaming. All these experiences, where the moment I say I, we have to understand that behind that I is that Brahman. That experience that where I say that I am the doer, you see, I'm walking, I'm talking, etc., etc. The I-ness is what is enabled by that Brahman, right? So to that extent, he's the Bharta. And of course, he's taking care of all beings in this universe. Hence, he is the provider of the universe. And therefore, he's being referred to as the Bharta. He's the controller and supporter of the entire universe. Next word is Prabhu. This is a fallout of the previous word where he calls himself Brahman is the Bharta, because he's the ultimate controller and supporter of the entire creation. The self presides over all physical, emotional, and intellectual activities. God enlivens the body to act, the mind to feel, and the intellect to think. Hence, he is the Lord. So that is Prabhu. Then we come to the word Sakshi. Now, this I will take up in detail because this is one thing that we need to implement in our actions. And if you may recollect, from chapter 2 onwards, actually chapter 3 specifically, this attribute has been assigned to Brahman and also to the Jnani, that he functions like a Sakshi, like a witness. So Sakshi, the word Sakshi means a witness. Brahman or God enables us. He is our supporter, Bharta, but it itself does not act. So though responsible for all activities at the level of the body, mind, and intellect, Brahman itself remains a mere witness. And let's look at our actions. Now, how our actions are happening, the cycle of action is that we have certain vasanas, which are unfulfilled desires. They start manifesting themselves through thoughts and desire, through thoughts for that particular item, okay, or that desire that I have. So I start thinking about that, which motivates me to act. Now, these actions are actually the gunas in my nature. The gunas we have seen are sattva, rajas, and tamas. And gunas are actually part of the prakriti or nature. Gunas they belong to matter and not to the Atman. Therefore, the Atman has nothing to do with our actions, whether they are good or bad. The Atman enables us, yet the Atman does not act. Now, it's easy said. Now, to understand, I'll take up two examples. One is the electricity and appliances, and second is the fuel in vehicles. So see, the electricity in the appliance, the electricity that is running into your home is that 220 volt, and it lights your light bulb to give light. It enables your air conditioner to cool the room. It enables your refrigerator to cool the food. It enables your TV to give you sound and light. It enables the heater to produce heat. It enables a toaster to produce, again, heat. So the various ways in that, which that heat or energy, that light is harnessed depends upon the nature of the appliance. Similarly, the Brahman that is flowing through all of us is the same. It is how we harness it. That is what is manifest in the world. Now, the fuel example. Again, fuel enables all vehicles. So whether it's an ambulance, whether it's a tractor, whether it's a luxury vehicle, Whether it's an auto rickshaw, it's the fuel which is the driving factor, right? Which enables the vehicle to move. But both the electricity and the fuel actually remain unchanged, right? So when you go to the petrol pump, all the vehicles are getting the same petrol filled in their vehicle. Okay, I mean the quality would be different in the sense of diesel or petrol, and now you have battery operated vehicles also, so the charging points, but everyone is using the same medium for enabling their vehicle. The points of comparison here are that Brahman or the electricity or the fuel is the prime mover. So no appliance can work without electricity, no vehicle can move without fuel, and similarly, our body, mind, and intellect cannot function without that Atman. That is the first point, that Atman is the prime mover. The second point of comparison is that the Atman is not interested in acting or not acting, just as the fuel has no desire to go anywhere, nor the electricity has any desire to either heat or cool down or to produce light. It is up to you how you use that. So Atman is not interested in acting or not acting. Last point. Atman has no role in the way we function. So even though just as the fuel is the prime mover, it has no role in the quality of movement of the vehicle. The movement of the vehicle will firstly depend upon the capacity, the engine capacity and the suspension system, etc. of the vehicle. And secondly, the driver of the vehicle, right? So these are the two things that will determine how the vehicle is functioning. Okay. So, I mean, so the same, you and your friends start from the same place to your residences, which are similar, or in the same locality or even different locality. One person reaches safely, the other person does not reach safely. So you can't blame the fuel. You can't say that, okay, I mean, the fuel was an accident. You got the wrong petrol filled. I got the safe petrol filled. No, you will never say that the petrol was wrong. You will say, okay, the skill of the driver, maybe the driver or someone else on the road might have been the problem, right? So the same fuel or the same Brahman enables all of us, great thinkers, scientists, sages, and also murderers and terrorists. So it is up to us and our gunas, which are a part of the matter, that determine what we are doing. So we have to understand this, that God is not concerned with what is happening or not happening in the world. Atman, though the prime mover, has no role in our actions. We are responsible for our own actions. And our actions are born out of our gunas or vasanas. And this, I've said, is sattva, rajas, and tamas. So this is what the word sakshi means, that he has no role to play in what we do with the energy that or life-giving force that he has enabled us with. The next adjective is nivas, or abode or residence. So see, when we wake up from a dream, right, in the dream, we feel that the dreamer, or I'm moving about in a different manner. You see, we see a reflection of ourselves, and not only do we see ourselves, we see other people in the dream also, right? And they are doing various things, so the whole dream proceeds. When you wake up, then you realize that it was a figment of your imagination. It was your mind that was being projected in that dream. Okay. So the dream was within you. Okay. Similarly, everything and everyone dwells in that Atman. And Atman is that source of, or the house of, the entire creation, or from which everything comes out. So it is the residence or the abode of all creation. Next adjective that we are using is Sharan or shelter. The best way to figure this out, when you completely beyond hope, or you're completely down and out, where do you turn? You take refuge in
God.
God. That is what it means, that God is the ultimate shelter from all worldly agitations, the ultimate refuge when there is no one else to turn to. And the restless mind finally finds peace in that self alone. Then, so this was Sharan. So we all, ultimate resting or shelter for all of us. Suhrit is a friend, as I've explained, a well-wisher, one having good feelings towards you, a well-wisher. Such people typically do not expect anything in return. So if you are a good friend, will always be out there to support you. Whether you are able to help that person or not does not matter. Similarly, God supports us in everything that we do. Whatever course of action we decide to do, He will support us. We have a conscience which tells us what is right and wrong. And it is up to us to listen to it or not to listen to it. Right? So whatever, but irrespective, whatever path we choose, God is always there to support all our actions. It is always with us like a true friend. We can always rely on God, and we can rest assured that He will support whatever we choose to do, whether it is good or bad. We will find support in God, or He is our friend, a well-wisher. Then the next set of adjectives I will take up together. And the second line, Prabhav is origin, Pralay is dissolution, and Sthanam is the foundation of all beings. So all living beings have Brahman as their, they come out of, it's the best thing is that wave example. See, the wave comes out of the ocean. When it's out of the ocean for that some seconds, it is still ocean, and it falls back into ocean. So it originates from the ocean, it is ocean, and it falls back into or dissolves into ocean. So all beings have Brahman as their substratum. It is from Brahman that we arise, show ourselves for some time, even then we are Brahman, and into which we merge, like the wave and ocean example. So the Brahman is the Prabhav or the origin, Pralay, the dissolution, and Sthanam is the substratum or the foundation of all beings. So this is what these three words mean. Nidhanam is the treasure house or the ultimate repository. It is that place where we will find absolute bliss, peace, completeness, harmony, compassion, and love. It is also the repository where all beings go when we become unmanifest at the time of dissolution of the world. So that way also it's a repository or a treasure house. Then the last two words, Bijam Avayayam. So actually it's one adjective which means imperishable seed. Avayayam is imperishable, Bij is seed. So Bijam Avayayam means imperishable seed. Atman is the seed from which the entire universe has emerged. Unlike most seeds that can only generate one plant, God continues to create the universe again and again infinitely. And this cycle of creation and dissolution was covered in detail in verses 7 and 8 when we had talked about how he manifests himself again and again as a cycle. So we had talked about the Nitya cycle and the Naimittic cycle. So verses 7 and 8 of this chapter. So hence he is the imperishable seed. Let's move on to verse number 19. Tapamaya ham varsham nigranahamayu srajami cha amritam cheva mrityuscha sad sachaham arjuna. So the verse translates to, I give heat, I withhold and send forth rain. I am immortality as well as death, real and non-real, O Arjuna. Let's take this up word by word. Tapami, tap dena or give heat. Aham is I. Again, aham, I. Varsham is rain. Nigrinhami, withhold. Utsrajami, bring forth. Cha and Amritam is Amrit or immortality. Cha and Ev also, Mrityu death. Cha and Sat is real or what exists. Asat is what is not real. Or Cha is and Aham I, Arjun is, of course, Arjun. So I give heat, I withhold and send forth rain. I am immortality as well as death, real and non-real, O Arjuna. So let's chant this together. Tapamaya ham varsham nigredham yut srajami cha amritam cheva mrityuscha sad sachaham arjuna. Sorry. So Brahman's expressions are continuing, and actually this is the verse where these adjectives end, and we will be talking of a new topic from the next subtopic, rather from the next verse onwards. So we have to understand this first bit, the first line, that I give heat, I withhold and send forth rain. So what does it mean? Brahman in the form of, this is to be understood in the worldly concept, the concept of the earth. So Brahman in the form of sun radiates heat through intense rays. The heat causes the water vapor from the ocean bodies and even from the earth to become vapor and rise into the sky. These droplets, the vapor, once the heat reduces, the water vapor starts condensing into clouds and ultimately it falls back onto earth. Okay, so this is what he means when he says that I give heat and actually through which I withhold and send forth rain. So that is the meaning here. So Brahman is, so you see, the point being made here is that you don't have to look at a particular image or an ideal. You look around you, you see the rays of the sun when we have the intense summer season, which is followed immediately by the monsoons, where it all comes back to us. It is all taking place in that Brahman. And all this should actually make us realize that Brahman, that all these are expressions of him. So Brahman controls the entire process of heat and rain. So this is what is being said in this, the first line. The next line says that I am Amrit or immortality and I am Mrityu, which is death. Now to understand this, we need to understand that what is mortality? Mortality, if you look at the root, is change that is taking place. And I will try to bring this out with some examples. A change meaning typically what we see it as birth and death. We have to understand that there can be no birth without death and no death without birth taking place. And this is actually being represented in the various cycles that are covered. Even the cycle that is mentioned in the first verse, first line of this verse, where he's talking about the heat converting the water to vapor. So water is evaporating or water is dying and vapor is forming. Then that vapor is condensing. So again, that vapor is dying and water is forming. This is a cycle. Our cycle, birth, death, and birth, right? More closer to nature, a flower gives rise to the fruit. So the flower dies and a fruit is born. Then the fruit dies and a seed is born. And when the seed is sown, the seed dies and a plant comes out of it. So this is again a cycle. So all this is taking, whether it is Amrit, immortality, when you see it as a cycle, or death, it is all change or taking place in Brahman. So this chain of birth, death, birth, or mortality brings about continuous changes in the world. In that sense, Brahman is death, that relative death that is taking place. And because Brahman is a substratum in which all these changes are taking place, to that extent, Brahman is the immortality. It is the substratum which is supporting all these changes. Therefore, Krishna is saying that Brahman is both the changeless substratum or immortality, as well as the changing world, mortality. Then the last set of adjectives, Sat and Asat. Okay, or real and non-real. The unmanifested being is Sat and the manifested world is Asat, because that being does never die, whereas the world changes, is inflicted by the cycles. And also we have been reading how even in this chapter, verse 4, we've been, which said that all this cosmic manifestation or this world is pervaded by me in the unmanifested form. So what we have read is that from the unmanifest arises the manifest. And we had also covered the cycles of, the Brahma's day, and where we had discussed these cycles in detail. So we had checked or studied how the cosmic cycle of the unmanifest to manifest to unmanifest continues endlessly. So the ocean is the origin and dissolution of all waves. The substratum is the vast ocean. And it is the substratum, the vastness of the ocean, that allows for the play of waves. There can be no waves without the ocean. So similarly, without the Brahman, we cannot be there. Now, we understand this, that there can be no waves without the ocean. Once we are able to discriminate or differentiate between the Sat and the Asat, or between the wave and the ocean, we will realize that we have to focus on the ocean and not the wave. So we have to focus on the Sat and not the Asat, or on Brahman and not the world. So that is what we have to, by the use of these words, this is what we have to understand, that where our focus should be. And once, we say that we focus on the ocean and not the waves, I, of course, would like to recollect from the Ishavasya Upanishad, the first verse. Ishavasya midam sarvam yat kinch jagatyam jagat. Yeah.
Punjita na
Ma gridha. Ma is ma actually. Ma gridha kassis vidhanam. So the first line, now if you look at this first line, ईश का वास है उस सब में चल अचल जो इस जगत में है. So just the one line of that the first verse of Ish Upanishad is telling you the difference between the Sat Asat, or how Brahman is the substratum of all that we see in this world. The second line was, it's a beautiful thing, isn't it? And the second line is actually telling us that enjoy that, usko bhogo, ten tyakaten. लेकिन त्यागतेन इज त्याग पूर्वक, उसको त्याग पूर्वक भोगो, क्योंकि whose wealth is it anyways? It's not yours. Yes. It's his wealth. So it's just the way when we go to a hotel and okay, there might be some things which are irritants. You try to get it rectified, but you don't lose your sleep over it. But you come back home, and if the same thing was at home, you would definitely lose your sleep over it, because you start treating as your own mine. In the hotel, you say, okay, it's someone else's thing. Okay, fine. I'm here only for 5 days. How does it matter? Yeah. But that is exactly the way we have to treat our life. I mean, so everything. Sorrows will come and joys will happen. That is what we have to learn to accept joyfully and move on. So with that, I'm stopping. We conclude today's section. Yeah, that was very